and fellow legal enthusiasts. A very warm welcome to our webinar, Navigating the Legal Labyrinth, a candid conversation, corporate law, Harvard LLM, and more. I am Samriddhi Agarwal, and I'm delighted to be one of your hosts today.
And I am Bhakti. It's an honor to join Samriddhi as your co host for this insightful journey into the realm of corporate law and the prestigious Harvard LLM program. Today, we have gathered here to unravel the complexities of corporate law, delve into the intricacies of the Harvard LLM experience, and explore the vast opportunities of the legal world.
Our distinguished panel of experts comprises luminaries in the field of corporate law, legal scholars, and successful Harvard LLM alumni. They will share their invaluable insights, experiences, and candid advice, shedding light on the path to success in the legal arena.
As we embark upon this enlightening conversation, we encourage active participation from our audience. Feel free to ask questions, engage in discussions, and make the most of this enriching experience. Let us create an atmosphere of learning, sharing, and mutual growth.
Today's webinar is not just a conversation, it's a platform for intellectual exchange, a bridge between aspirations and achievements. We hope that by the end of the session, you will leave with a deeper understanding of corporate law, inspired by the journey shared, and equipped with the knowledge to navigate your own legal pathways.
Once again, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed panelists, our sponsors, and of course to all of you for being here. So, without further ado, let us embark on this illuminating journey into the legal labyrinth. Get ready for an engaging and enriching conversation that just might shape the trajectory of your legal career. Before we commence with today's session, I would like to request our Dean, Professor Dr. Queenie Pradhan, to share a few words with us.
Thank you so much, Bhakti and Samriddhi. And it's always a pleasure and an honor to interact with our alumni. They are doing so wonderfully well across the world, in India and outside. So, Aishwarya Khanna, welcome to us and welcome back to your own alma mater. It's a delight to have you with us. And Dr. Zubair Ahmed Khan, I thank you for being in touch and calling our alumni and connecting them to us, because it does matter a lot when alumni connects with it. It is a matter of pride. And for our present batch of students, it's also very encouraging when our alumni interacts with them. So, and many of them have worked hard to ensure that we have such regular activities when it comes to our law school. So thank you so much. And I hope that we carry forward this initiative. Professor Deepshikha Agarwal could not come due to some other commitment. She is the chairperson of the Placement and Internship Cell. Dr. Zubair Ahmed is the real force behind it, pushing everybody to do it. He even pushes me, so that's okay. So that is what is needed, and that's how institutions are built. So that sense of belonging to your law school is very important, and this is what I wish to see in each one of our students, that fighting for your law school. So Aishwarya, I wouldn't like to take much time between you and the students. All the very best to you in life, and I hope for a wonderful interaction. Students also getting insights, because this is one thing which our students do at times look for, some kind of mentorship or guidance, how best to go about developing your career profile. So I'm sure it's going to be very useful. I can see Bharti also, and Jyoti Kanoji has also been part of it. So many of the students who have been taking active initiatives in the placements and internship cell. So thank you so much for this time you have taken out to be with us. All the best. Over to you, Samriddhi and Bhakti.
Thank you for your unwavering support and kind words, ma'am. Let's turn the spotlight to our alumni who have traversed these law school waters. We have invited accomplished alumni of US LLS to share their experiences and wisdom. Ms. Aishwarya Khanna, 2016 batch, she pursued her LLB from this esteemed institution and did her LLM from Harvard Law School, Cambridge. Over to Bhakti.
She is currently working as an associate corporate counsel at Renaissance Electronics America in San Jose, California, leading the legal and corporate secretarial matters for the India business. She has played an important role in negotiating and drafting key commercial contracts for business with major companies such as Nokia, Meta, Google, and so on. She has also been the manager at Anheuser-Busch InBev in Bangalore, India, and was later promoted to the position of senior manager. She has advised in partnership with major Indian businesses across key locations in India. She also has to her credit several honors, including the gold medal for securing rank 1 in the second, third, sixth, and seventh semesters. Now, I would like to request her to share her experience with us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining, especially on a Saturday evening. I really appreciate it. And thanks, Queenie ma'am, for all those kind words. I absolutely agree. I think the sense of belonging that comes with sort of being connected to one's college, one's community, one's people is very important. And I'm really thankful for this initiative. Of course, Zubair sir, I've been in touch with him ever since I graduated. He's played a very pivotal role um, in my entire journey. Also, he's also someone who wrote my letter of recommendation for Harvard for me. So, I've always been very extremely indebted to him. And when he asked me for this talk, I immediately said yes. So I guess the goal for today, as far as I see it, is that I don't want to talk a lot about myself, but I do understand that this time during law school can be extremely anxiety inducing and can be confusing. There are a lot of things that you hear about or you read about, you see people doing different things, and you sort of think that people have it all figured out. But I'd like to take this opportunity to answer any question or query that you have to the best of my ability, be it regarding an international LLM, or your career in corporate law, or your career as an in-house counsel if anyone's interested, the application process. It could be about the New York bar. And so please feel free to sort of raise any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. In terms of a little bit of introduction, I'll just say my name's Aishwarya, and I graduated from Harvard Law School last year. That's in 2022. Ever since then, I've been working with a Japanese semiconductor business called Renesas Electronics, and they have offices all over the world. So I work for the US business, but I advise the team in both US and India. Prior to Harvard, I was at Anheuser-Busch, which is the beer company that makes Budweiser, Corona, Hoegaarden, and it's basically one of the largest brewers in the world. And I started my career with Anheuser-Busch. I started there as an intern, and then I was given the opportunity to join them full time. So I spent the initial years of my legal career training under one of the best mentors that I had. So and I moved from being an intern to a permanent level position, and then graduating to a senior manager in the legal department. And then 3 years later, I thought it was time for a change, so I decided to switch. I've always wanted to pursue an international LLM, and I started looking for opportunities. That's when I decided to apply to a bunch of law schools, and that's how Harvard came along. And of course, when the best law school in the world sort of offers you a position, you don't say no. So I quit my job and I moved to the US, and I pursued a year-long master's there. And after that, I decided to stay on in the US and gain some experience in the US legal market. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah. So, and I also cleared the New York bar. So like I said, if anyone has any questions about the New York bar, I'd be happy to answer. So I'm licensed to practice in the state of New York as well as India. So if someone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer. So if we can open up the floor to questions, I guess it'll be great, and I can take them up one by one.
I think Ishita Singh has raised her hand. Ishita?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ma'am. I just wanted to ask you, how has your education and experience at USLLS helped you at Harvard and then in your subsequent corporate law career?
So I guess the first thing is about having a strong foundation. And that is something that the college has provided me. I think I always knew from the beginning that there are certain subjects that I'm interested in, and somehow they ended up being Zubair sir subjects most of the time, like corporate law and contracts and everything. So I think throughout my college life, I made sure that I put a little bit of extra focus on what I wanted to do and sort of build my foundation accordingly. I also did my thesis in under Zubair sir's wing, and it was in something that interested me and also something that I thought might be useful in the future. So I think in terms of opportunities, the opportunity to study and under the right guidance write my thesis, I did a couple of moot courts. I went to DU, went to the south of India. I presented a bunch of papers, and all this was possible because our college provided us with the opportunity to and gave us sort of the building blocks to have that kind of experience. And I think um, that's how I started. And though the fact that I could dream, or I thought that I was capable enough to apply for an internship, say at Anheuser-Busch, or apply for an LLM, at Harvard or a bunch of other schools in the US and UK. I think that US LLS gave me that confidence to sort of know that, हाँ यार शायद हो जाएगा, let's try. So I guess that would be my biggest learning.
Yes, Roshan, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming here, ma'am. I have a lot of questions. My first question would be regarding LLM. So the most important question that I have is, how do you fund your LLM or even a JD at Harvard? It's quite expensive there to study there. That's my first question. And the scholarships you can pursue there. So kindly elaborate on the scholarships. Also, the career prospects we have after an LLM. Let's say we want to enter big law after our LLM. Is it possible, or should we must pursue a JD? So kindly elaborate if how can one go into big law? Thank you so much, ma'am.
Sure, thanks, Roshan. So the first question, as far as expenses are concerned, that is absolutely true. It is pretty expensive, but there are things that you can do to sort of, mitigate the effects of how much it costs. One, I would say that there are several external scholarships which are given by, say, the Government of India or the Tata Institute or other major groups in India, which sort of offer you a scholarship basis the college that you have, or the offer letters that are in your pocket. So I would definitely say to research about them. Secondly, the global law schools also do understand that it takes a major toll financially when people want to pursue their LLM. So there are a lot of scholarship opportunities within the institute also that they offer. It could be need based or it could be merit based. That depends from university to university, but in both these things, I would say that I mean, one should definitely research on these both external internal scholarships. Apart from that, there are other money saving measures also that you can sort of make while you are there. But I think a scholarship is your best bet, and that can be sort of accessed with a little bit of research and starting early. That's what I would say. In terms of career prospects under big law, so I would definitely say yes, there is a prospect. There are prospects. There were 200 people in my batch, and I guess 100 out of 200, about 80 people wanted to go to big law. A lot of them got opportunities, but a lot of them had to come back also. I think there's certain groundwork that you want to lay before you apply for a job in big law. One would be that you should have some kind of experience in your home country. So getting a first year associate job right out of an LLM in the US is kind of is rare, because they want some kind of experience that you might have in your home country or in the US. So that is something that you should keep in mind. Second, I if you want to compare between LLM and a JD, purely in terms of career prospects, a JD is better. I won't lie. But then a JD is a 3-year long course and you have to start from the beginning, right? So it depends on a lot of it takes a lot of consideration to think whether you are equipped enough to put in that effort, that money, in order to have a 3-year education when you already have a 5-year education in India. So it has its pros and cons, but I would definitely say that there are opportunities in big law for foreign students in the US, but you have to be open to do all and any kinds of work. Maybe you want to work in capital markets, or maybe you want to do a specific type of litigation. So that is something that you have to be flexible about, because yes, the job opportunities are few for foreign students, considering that we don't know the law in the US, and they can have JDs at the same price point as you with better knowledge of the US system. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. But all that said and done, provided the right opportunity, the right law school, the right support, and the right application process research, I think it's totally doable. I hope that answers.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
Vanidhi, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Samriddhi. Good evening, ma'am. I just had one question. As you previously mentioned about your work experience, like about first gaining work experience in the US and then that being a push for your LLM in Harvard, would you rather recommend that somebody first gains work experience there than directly applying for, say, a bunch of colleges abroad? Also, if in the alternative, a person gains work experience in India, in corporate law itself, and that is the very niche that they would want to pursue in their LLM. So, would that be comparatively less beneficial?
Okay. So thanks, Vani. The thing is, I wasn't talking about um, gaining work experience from the US. I don't have that. I mean, pre LLM work experience, I don't have that. So I don't want to stress on that, because I think that's something that seems a little bit impractical, considering that we graduate from here, and then um, if we wa- if and then that seems to be a little difficult to do. But in terms of professional experience, I guess, if your question is that whether you should gain professional experience before actually applying to the LLM, I would definitely say yes. There are two reasons for this. One, that it's the college prepares you for a certain kind of life, and it's all about the law. Everyone around you is all about the law, so they exactly know what you're talking about, and you are in a sort of comfort zone where you have to read the book and the case and do the moot court and everything. However, versus when you actually go on the ground, situations can be very different, and you can be presented with different challenges every day. So I think in order to understand who you are and what you want, it's very important to gain some kind of work experience before you apply for your LLM. One, because you should know what you actually want, and then two, it's very helpful in your CV to show your work. And it's important for the admission council to sort of read about what you have done, what you're capable of, what you're interested in doing in the future. And that is always a plus point when you have um, a bunch of years in your pocket, and that sort of helps to push your application. Did I answer that?
Yes, ma'am, you did. Thank you so much. Just a follow-up question. You mentioned that you quit your job when Howard accepted your application. So I just assume that was in the US.
Oh no, no. That was in India. I was working for Anheuser-Busch in Bangalore, and
Right,
this was 2020. So yeah, yeah,
right.
and
Got it.
then I applied for the masters.
Thank you for the answer.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, you can go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, there's this rumor going around that foreign LLMs don't really lead to a job. So I wanted to ask, there's a lot of people who have advised that networking is one of the key areas where you can actually get a job straight out of an LLM. Since LLMs are considered to be a foreign degree, that's how the rumor goes. It's increasingly hard to find a job with an LLM only. So I wanted to ask about your experience. What are the areas that helped you? And was it specialization? Was it your PQE? In specialization in the terms that whatever areas of law you have worked in India, did those help you propel towards a job in the US? Or how much did that matter, if any? And was there any role of commercial awareness? Since I think Roshan talked about big law and entry into big law, is there commercial awareness that also plays a role? I also have a second question. That's more about the application process. So I realize you had 3 years of PQE, and that definitely made your application stand out. But from your experience, what are the other factors that we could use, and how was your experience, and what were the clenching factors that really helped you propel towards Harvard Law instead of any other law school? How did you make your application stand out in that aspect?
Great. Thanks, Akshita. I think I will answer the second question first. So, in terms of application, I think, yes, like I said, having a good work experience helps you because, it sort of shows what you're capable of. What have you been doing right outside of law school? And then also, in terms of your application, it helps because then your manager can speak for you in the LOR, right? And that is someone who has worked with you day in day out. So it becomes a very essential, he or she, your manager, can become a very essential character in the story of your application. So that is one that I would definitely say. I think in terms of other things, it's very important to actually know what you want, and how how can you really put that in your application. So I'll give you an example. For instance, I've always wanted to be an in-house counsel. I knew it. I think somewhere I knew it in law school. I knew it after I joined Anheuser-Busch, and that's one of the reasons why I joined. And then, and I've kept a similar approach throughout my legal career. But what you have to understand is you have to understand the psyche of the admission council. So one of the biggest and the best piece of advice that I got was that you have to think from the perspective of someone who's reading your application, right? And these schools, the best schools, be it in the US or the UK, be it Cambridge, Oxford, NYU, Harvard, they have a selfish reason for getting you into the college, right? The selfish reason for them is that they want to produce leaders in their field. And you have, so your story should tell them how will you be able to help their name in the future. So what can you bring to the table that will make you a leader in the future? And as a result of that, their college will sort of, continue to hold that esteem with their peers. So thinking about that, you should make your application. The third thing would be that depending on what you want to do, choose your university. Make a list of the universities that you want to apply to. If you want to apply, there are a bunch of universities which are very, very good. But if you apply to a university and you want to do business law, but their teaching programs better, or their academic programs better, in terms of, or their research is better, then it doesn't really make a difference to you. um, So the important is choose the university according to your interest. So for example, NYU has a great business law program, right? So if you're interested in business, then that's what you should do. Oxford has a great litigation or a research based program, right? So that's where you should apply if you are interested in research. um, and then the third thing, of course, the moot courts and the research and the publications. I'm not saying that they don't help. They, of course, give you that little push. But the last thing that I would say is have an interesting story to tell. And that is something that you should keep an eye out for throughout, not only when you decide to apply for your LLM, but even before that, right in, like in law school, or while doing your internships, try to have a unique story, like build a unique story for yourself. And that's why it's important to sort of um, like go out, travel, read, do other things, because eventually that really comes in handy when you are making an application, trust me.
And just a follow up on this, what was your interesting story?
uh okay. I think I'll tell you what I wrote in my personal statement. So I don't know if it's that interesting or not, but it got me a position in a bunch of schools. So I can say, but my story was more about my professional challenges. So there was a time when I just joined Anheuser-Busch. I guess I was just a couple of months old in the company, and both my manager and my manager's manager quit in a matter of days because of certain internal politics in the organization. And I remember I was scared to death, because I was just a fresh intern. I was still trying to find my feet in the organization, and they left overnight, and everything that had to be done was, you know it was now in my it was now in my corner, because I had to do everything, because there was no legal team left. And I guess that's when I made a decision that either I could just tell everybody, oh, I'm just, a couple of months old intern, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that. Or I realized that I won't get a better opportunity to carve that niche for myself in this organization, and to just make everyone believe that yes, even if there was no one, she was there, and she's the one who held the legal team together. And I think that's what I chose to do. So yeah, that's my PS in a nutshell for you. And I guess in terms of your second question, it was about job prospects post LLM, right? Okay. So first, it depends on what you want to do, right? It might help you if you want to teach in the future, or if you want to get a job in the US, or if you want to take on a research based position, or if you want to gain a specialization for in order to get a particular job in that field, right? So it depends on what you want to do in the future. If you tell me, I think to some extent I do agree that if you match the finances, the draining of the finances that come with an LLM and an equal opportunity, I won't lie to you, it's not the same, right? There are a bunch of people in my batch who wanted to come back, and they did. But there are a bunch of people who had to come back because there was no opportunity. It could be because of various factors. It can be market, it can also, but it has also got to do a lot with the fact that at the end of the day, you're a foreign student, right? You have done 9 months of US education, and it's not even US legal system specific education, right? You have studied the subjects that you have wanted to study. you have absolutely, of course, then that's why you take the New York bar, you tell them that I'm well versed with the US law also. But I won't lie to you, there is a bias. And that's where the networking part of everything comes into play. Because if I don't know you, why will I give you a job? Right? So, and if maybe something clicks, right? And that is why it's important for colleges to have strong alum networks. Because if I am on the hiring committee tomorrow and I know that Rakshita, who's from my college, is applying, I might give you that a little bit of extra minute, right, to explain your story or to explain your CV. So that's how it happens. And I think, as much as we all hate it, networking is the name of the game, and that does play a very important role. But in terms of, so only in closing, I'd like to say that it's very important for you to figure out why you want to do the LLM, right? Do it for the right reasons. Don't do it because it'll get you a job in the US. I think that that's not quite the right way to approach it. Yes, it does open doors to the US legal market, but that does not happen all the time, and that does not happen very frequently and for everybody.
Also, just one more uh, area to add over this. What role does specialization play? And your previous experience as an in-house counsel, what role did that play in networking opportunities and getting you a job, if any?
Yeah, so the thing about a university like Harvard is that they do not offer specializations. So Harvard only offers a general LLM, and then the thing is that you pick the subjects that you're interested in or that you want to sort of study, and there's no masters in that specific field as such, right? So you just pick up the subjects, and then there's a general LLM, but of course it's Harvard, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But other colleges like NYU or UPenn or University of Chicago, all these colleges are great, and they do offer specific masters. So that is one. The other thing is that how did my professional experience help me with my career? Is that, yeah. um I think in terms of laying a foundation, because I'll tell you what I'm doing right now. So I'm advising the India business and the US business on mergers and key commercial contracts, right? I I already have done this stuff, a lot of this stuff in my previous organization, right? So I already have the basis for this. But the stark difference is that they're very different sectors. So I worked in the alcohol sector before, and now it's a completely different semiconductor sector. But in terms of the workings and in terms of how to approach a particular challenge, how to work within an organization, I think that's pretty much the same in every organization. But depending on what kind of organization and the kind of manager and the kind of leadership that you have to sort of navigate accordingly. But and also it helps you not sort of answer that question, oh, why are you switching and what made you switch, and why are you doing so. It just helps you not shed that baggage of having to change your field and then explain to people why you did that. If you have a great story and you have a very awe-inspiring and life changing, life defining event that you underwent and then you chose to completely switch, please do that, because a lot of people in my batch also did that. But yeah, if you don't, then might as well stick to what you know. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Payas, you may go ahead with your question.
Okay. Hi, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So my question pertains to like the work permit that one gets after their LLM is done. So from my limited understanding of it, the work permit you get is for a very specific and very brief duration, I believe. So, and I believe that getting job or work opportunities are not very easy during that period. So how does one make the most of it, and like how easy or difficult is it to actually get work experience during that period?
So the the training period, they call it OPT, optional practical training, that lasts for a year after you graduate. So if you graduate in, say, June 2023, then you can stay in the country till June end 2024, provided that you have a job. And you have 3 months of that 1 year, the first 3 months of that 1 year, to actually find a job, because you cannot stay in the country unemployed, right? So 3 months, I agree, it's not a very long period to actually find a job. So it's important to start early. An LLM is anyway very short. um it's only a 9 month course, right? So by the time you actually you are there, and then you understand, oh, this is my timetable, these are my classes, these are my professors, it just ends up, you realize that half of your term is over. So my advice would be to start early, start networking early. um I think start reaching out to your to the alumni network of that particular university. And you don't necessarily have to ask them for a job, because like I was telling Akshata just a couple of minutes back, if I don't know you, I will find it very hard to justify giving you a job, right? But if you, and your professors also in the university will tell you this, that networking doesn't only mean asking for a job, right? You can just ask them for a cup of coffee or a drink in the evening, and just ask them to sort of, that I'm very interested to know about your journey, I'm very interested to have a chat with you, or I am trying to pursue a career as similar to yours, so if you could just share some insights, why don't we talk? And honestly, a lot of people will will be willing to talk if they have the right time and the intention. So that is something that I would say you must do. And this, my second advice in terms of finding a job would be that don't be very stuck up in terms of what you want to do. So even if it's an even if it's not in the field that you hoped for, just do it. Even if you're getting paid a lot less than what you think you deserve, honestly, just do it. If you're not getting paid also, then just do it. And if it's a consultant position, or it's a long term project, and then your company tells you, or the organization or the law firm tells you, that we're looking for lawyers for this one, a 6 month long project, and then and then we'll see what happens after that, honestly, just do it, because in a lot of cases that will be your best bet. Um and it'll actually help you build a relationship with the company, and then who knows, yeah, if you're good and if they want you, then they will reach out to you. So that would be my advice.
All right. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Thank you.
Arav, you may go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Ma'am, my question is: Can we apply to the bar without an LLM, or is that a prerequisite?
So Arav, I don't think you can, because there are certain US courses that you need to take before you can actually apply to the bar. And so the bar sort of judges your eligibility based on those courses. And those courses, of course, because it's a US law course, so they're only offered by the US universities. I think some countries you can sit for the bar without having a US degree, but I don't think India is on the list.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Sahil, you may go ahead with your question.
Good evening, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, Sahil.
Ma'am, my name is Sahil and I'm in my third year of law school. So I have this basic question, like it's not basic, but I just want to ask you, ma'am. Ma'am, last weekend, I was just scrolling my reel sections on Instagram, and there was this reel in which a girl is telling her journey about some law school in India to Harvard Law School. And ma'am, in that reel, she shows some scenery of the campus, bunch of foreign students and all. And ma'am, that really fascinated me, to be honest. And I was like, I also want to join Harvard campus. And then I started doing my research and started doing research on how to fill the application form and procedure to apply for Harvard Law School and all.
Yeah.
But ma'am, then this thought really strikes my head that why I want to do LLM or join Harvard Law School. Just because a reel or some scenery, not right, ma'am. And then I dropped that idea. So, ma'am, my question is really simple and basic. Why a law student should do LLM? And how can a degree of LLM can help a law student in his career path? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So thank you. I think wisdom prevailed when you decided not to do LLM from Harvard because of the scenery. I think honestly it's beautiful, but like we should definitely have better reasons. So in terms of why to do an LLM and how can it help you, like I said in one of the previous questions that I answered, Sahil, I think it really depends on what you want to do with your life and with your career. There are certain paths if you want to pursue. I wouldn't recommend a LLM honestly, because it does drain a lot of time, resources, and energy from someone who's applying for it. So if you want to build your career in big law, then and you want to sort of be a master in a field, be it ADR or IPR, then you can think about pursuing a master's from abroad, because that might give you a sort of 360-degree view on what the IPR or the ADR practices or whatever you want to pursue practices are across the world. So I think in terms of that, it can be useful. Also, it helps you connect with a lot of professionals from across the globe who want to do the same thing as you or have the same journey as you. So I think one of the biggest selling points of universities like Harvard is that they give you that sense of community, right? So there were like 200 people in my batch, and now if I know that if I reach out in the future to the other 199 who are based in literally different corners of the world, I know that I have a network, right? So I think in that sense, to get a global perspective, to be a part of a diverse, culturally rich community, I think these are very important aspects of a LLM. But if you say that no, I want to make a litigation career for myself, and so it's a choice between spending a year and a half, or two if you find a job in the US, like staying in the US and doing that bit, versus gaining work experience in India and actually going to court every day. I would suggest the latter, because in that case it won't help you. So honestly, it depends on what you want to do in the future. Just don't do it because everyone's doing it, or because of some reel. um but do it after putting some serious thought into it. So
Thank you so much, ma'am. Like, ma'am, I just want to make my career in litigation field. And
Hanji.
if one fine day I make this decision to do LLM, so
Yeah.
ma'am, is there any particular field in which I can do LLM and which also relates to the litigation field?
Honestly, if you want to do litigation, I mean, don't take my word as the last word for it, but I mean, I'm not a litigation expert at all. So, but does anyone really care about whether you have a master's from the US when you are in court?
I think no, ma'am. So this defines a notion that LLM is for corporate. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, yeah, or big law if but you can call that corporate also. Yeah, but like if or other things, you could want to teach, you could want to research, do your PhD, all of that. So yeah, but I don't think. I mean, And if you want to do litigation in India, if you wanted to do litigation in the US, I would still say to definitely go for it, because that sort of opens a doorway to the US legal market. But if you're very sure that you want to be a part of the Indian system, then I won't recommend it. But I think one more piece of advice I would say, that you're still in your third year, keep on exploring, keep on talking to a lot of people, even if their work or their field does not really interest you. Make sure that you talk to them. Make sure that you ask them questions, because you know you still have time to sort of figure out what you really like and what you really want. So keep talking to people, get their advice, and explore everything. Do more internships, which can give you a different kind of experience. Work for a company, work for a law firm, work for a university, or whatever. But have a mixed bag of experiences before you take a serious call.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bhumika, you may go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. I hope you are doing well. So, my question is related to JD and LLM. So, as you said, that networking is one of the most important skills for a law student. So, I have had the chance to talk to some of the people who have been, pursuing these international degrees from America only. So, one of the things that I have noticed from that I've gotten back from them is that an LLM is more of a degree that would give you exposure to a legal US legal market. However, if you want a stability in the US legal market, you might have to pursue a JD for that, because like you can do like I have seen this more than once. They do people pursue an LLM, and after that 3 to 5 years they are able to be there in the US legal market. However, they are not able to maintain that stability in that. So what are your thoughts on between Juris Doctorate and LLM from the America? If one is one wants to continue in the US legal market only in the future.
So, Bhumika, it depends on a couple of things. One, a JD is a lot more time and money versus an LLM, right? If you have the resources and you're willing to put in 3 years of extremely intense, tough time, or you want to put in that kind of time and effort into getting another degree, then by all means I think you should go ahead, right? In terms of, so let's, I'm going to very objectifiably say this. Between a LLM and a JD, if you ask me what has better job prospects, a JD, definitely, without any doubt. But then of course, then a JD is more money. A JD is more time, right? And you have to unlearn everything that you've learned in the Indian legal system and basically start from scratch, right? Because that's like doing your LLB in India. So that is the thing. In terms of, like I said, job opportunities, of course, but you also have to understand that your educational degree is one thing, and then your permission to stay in that country with your visa is another thing, right? So irrespective of whether you do a JD or a LLM, if a law firm or a company decides to hire you, they will still have to apply for your H1B, which is your work visa in the US, right? And that is something that's not really in the hands of that company or that law firm, because the government is ultimately the one who has to give you that permission, right? So I think it's important for us to be very aware of the fact that you might put in all the work and you might have a great job, but at the same time, the visa issues in the US are very much a reality, and everyone who plans to move there, settle there, needs to be wary of that fact, because that's the ultimate truth. So I think staying in the US is a completely different ball game altogether, which is very different from you actually pursuing an education in the US. So I think both these things are different, and you should you should consider before you make a decision. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. Thank you so much for addressing this.
Thank you.
Ma'am, there's a common question from Madhumina and Rijal Mongia in the chat box. They would like to know what are some qualities or critical skills that an aspiring lawyer should possess in order to be successful in the corporate world.
Sorry, I was in mute. Okay. Um, so in terms of corporate law, I think my advice would be a couple of things. One, so see, corporate law is a very general area of law, and I don't know whether the two students want to pursue career as an in-house counsel or be a corporate lawyer in big law or in a law firm. But I'll tell you generally, I think the top skills that in my experience would be one, be curious, right? So like I mentioned a couple of questions or answers back, law school is very different from your actual everyday working environment, like, right? So in law school, everyone knows what you're talking about, everyone's reading the same thing. You have teachers, and then you have moot courts, and then you have papers, and then you have exams and all of that. So it's very easy to be consumed in that world and be in that shell. But when you step out, you realize that not everyone in the world is a lawyer. Not everyone in the world unnecessarily understands what you're trying to say. So no one really cares about malified or force majeure or sui generis and all of that, right? Sometimes, be it no matter what kind of lawyer you are, you will always have a client, right? And the client doesn't really care about your legal jargon. So I think the important bit is to understand the difference between the two worlds. Be open to learning. Be curious, like I said, and try to understand where your client is coming from. So try to sort of level with the client and make them understand that you have the same objective as them, which could be anything, right? To win the case, or to to bring profits to the company, or have a project successfully completed. So I would say that one, you have so now it's a lot of information, but if I have to sort of put it in points, I would say one, understand that not everyone's a lawyer, so try to come to their level and then explain to them what the problem is and how can you give a solution. That is one. Second, in terms of the solution that you offer, make sure that it's not, oh, section 12 of XYZ law says this, right? Because like I said, no one really cares. That people want to know whether they can do the thing that they want to do or not. And usually if you tell them no, you tell them no once, twice, thrice, the fourth time they'll actually try not to come to you and do it anyway, right? So the idea is, if you are a part of an organization or if you're an in-house counsel, the idea is to make sure that you earn the trust of the people that you're working for. You have to ensure that the CEO that you're working with or the CFO that you're working with, they have to understand that your objectives and their objectives are the same, which is to grow the company, right? So that is the second thing for second or third, whatever, for a general counsel or an in-house counsel. And third, I would say, build relationships. Try to talk to people, try to understand what they do, because a lawyer, no matter what field you pursue, I don't think it's possible for anyone to work in silos in the world that we work in today. I mean, everything's moving so fast, and let's face it, like, no one knows everything, right? So you need people, you need people's help. So you need to be able to ask them what they're doing, try to understand the business. So I worked in the alcohol sector, and trust me, it's one of the most regulated and complicated businesses in I mean, amongst a lot of other businesses. And if I don't know how the supply chain for my product works, or if I don't know what are the HR practices that the employees are going through, I cannot find a solution to their problems. So it's important to be, especially for a corporate law, I would say it's very important to be legally sound, definitely, but commercially sound as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an insightful answer. Roshan, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Saviti. Ma'am, this one is a purely legal question. So, for drafting agreements or drafting contracts, since you do that job, I wanted to ask you this question. How do you improve your skill? Because up until now in our internships, we basically given for a template which we follow to draft any application or anything like that. So, how do I as a student improve my drafting skills? Please.
I think that's a great question. Um, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that, because, as an in-house counsel, we tend to work a lot with the law firms, and we tend to rely a lot on outside counsels to sort of help us with drafting complicated agreements. And it's always better to consult specialists if you're drafting complicated contracts, like be it a tax agreement, or an HR related or a compensation related agreement. But how do you make sure that your contract's sort of sturdy or robust enough? I would say that it's always great to sort of have, honestly, it's always great to have templates. It's always great to read as many contracts as you can, and as many contracts as you can in the similar arena of things. So I think that gives you a sort of sense on what can and cannot be done. And then I would say that, I think keeping abreast of all the developments in the legal world can also help you to sort of make sure that you are hedging your risks in terms of unforeseen circumstances. So for example, there's a lot of talk about AI now, right? So as a company, and as a legal team that I'm working with, we have a committee that sort of now takes is looking into how we can actually tweak our contracts to make sure that, any leak of information through AI, or any privacy related information that is shared via AI may be misused. And we are trying to hedge that risk by making sure that we have clauses in the contract that do exactly that. So I would say that use templates. There's nothing bad in using templates. Someone else has done the work. Why do you want to double that work? So use their work and sort of help yourself. Second would be make sure that you sort of read up, stay abreast, know what are the developments in the field of law in order to hedge your risks. And third, don't make typos. I guess that's what it is. But I
Thank you,
think
ma'am.
a
Thank you
law
so
firm
much.
lawyer will be able to answer your question better.
Definitely, ma'am. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Priyam, you may go ahead.
Hello, ma'am. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
So, ma'am, you used to work as an in-house counsel in India as well. So, did you get that role straight out of college? If yes, could you elaborate on how, as in what one could do in law school to avail a similar opportunity? And secondly, how is the work-life balance as an in-house counsel?
Great question, Priyam. I was hoping someone would ask me that. Not the work-life balance part, the first one. Right out of law school, I did join AB InBev, but I joined the company as an intern. So and then I sort of grew in my role, and I think 8 months later they asked me to join permanently, and from there I went on to manage a team. I think what the students can do to get or have that access to more opportunities out of law school. So there's a myth. I mean, I won't call it a myth, but there is a norm which I think is now breaking. I would really like to believe that people don't join companies straight out of law school, right? A law school, an in-house counsel needs to have a specific number of law firm years under their belt before they can join an in-house counsel position. While that is a very common path that certain law firm lawyers follow, but I am the living and breathing example. I've never worked for a law firm. I have always worked in-house, and I think that's what I'll continue to do, hopefully. But so I guess start with removing that bias from your head, if there is, that only law firm lawyers can sort of go ahead and become in-house counsels. No, I think a lot of people now want to hire fresh graduates who are looking to do different things and who are looking to learn, who are looking to be a part of projects that might help the company. So that is one. Second, I would say, if you want an in-house counsel position, try to make a list of the sectors that you're interested in, the companies that are in those sectors. Try to see what companies you think fit your interests, of fits your ethos, or anything, or the kind of work that they're doing. So I would say make a list of that, and then reach out to the people within that company. I mean, we live in the era of communication. Go ahead, put a message to them on LinkedIn, or send them an email, or just hit them up if you find them at a conference or a seminar, or if they're sort of giving a lecture. So just reach out. Zyada se zyada, what are they going to say? Nahi na, sorry, hamare paas nahi hai position. So it's fine. But also the thing is that it also boils down to what I said before, that if I don't know you, I will not give you a job, right? So if you come to me out of the blue and tell me that I'm really really interested in a job position in your company, I might actually say no, because there you also have to understand that giving a permanent job to someone has a lot of other ramifications. You need to have the budget, you need to have the headcount, you need to take interviews and all of that. So instead of looking for a job as a fresh graduate, I would say that be open to internships, be open to unpaid internships even, be open to long term projects or even short term projects that these companies do. Or some companies now have summer projects or summer internships, or internships that are specific to a particular thing or a particular time period or like a particular field. So I would say, don't be afraid, don't be shy to take those up. And also, when you reach out to the people, try to talk to them about a lecture that they delivered, or maybe you saw some article that they wrote, or maybe you thought about some particular problem that their industry is facing, and how you can offer a solution. Maybe you wrote an article that sort of corresponds to their sector, so why don't you just share it with them? And the idea is to keep the conversation going. So yeah, do that and don't be shy to put in the work. That's what I would say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a valuable session. We would now like to welcome Zubair sir for the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Samriddhi. What can I say? On behalf of the USLLS, Professor Dr. Queenie Pradhan, Dean USLLS, and Professor Dipshikha Agarwal, Chairperson, Internship and Placement Cell, and my faculty colleague, Dr. Vani Prakash, Faculty Coordinator for the Internship Placement Cell, I like to give my special gratitude to Aishwarya Khanna for sparing your time out of your busy schedule. Thank you so much, Aishwarya. And I'm sure this event is quite successful altogether. Your creative ideas, your valued opinions have definitely makes the difference today. and it's worth pondering over, or number of issues which we have discussed today. And I also have discussed with my students in the past as to how to build and how to encourage our students where they can actually learn something and disseminate the learning, which is quite important today also. I also like to acknowledge the endeavors made by the team also, the student convener and the comparing team. Thank you so much, all of you, and thank you so much once again, Aishwarya, for your valuable advice which is given to all of your juniors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. It's an absolute honor to be chatting with all of you today. I thank you again for coming out on a Saturday evening, and please reach out. I'm sure some of you will have more questions after this, or might want to ask something completely different. Please hit me up on LinkedIn, or I also have my email ID. Please feel free to reach out, and I'll try to answer questions as much as possible. If I'm in Delhi, if anyone wants to meet for a coffee, please feel free to even reach out then. I just hope, even if you took away one piece of advice today, that you might sort of think on at a later date. I guess that my job here is done. So yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you for the organizing team. Jyoti has been amazingly patient with me, and thank you, Zubair sir. You've always been a great influence, and I'll always be indebted to you as a major part of my law school and legal
Thank you,
career.
Shara. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So as we draw this immensely enlightening and interactive session to a close, I wish to take a moment to express my sincere appreciation to our distinguished guest for her invaluable presence today. Our understanding. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Miss Aishwarya Khanna, who took out her time to interact with our students and for sharing her vast knowledge on the subject with all of us. We congratulate you and wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. I also thank our Dean, Professor Queenie Pradhan Ma'am, our faculty coordinators, Professor Dipshika Ma'am, Chairperson of Internship and Placement, Ma'am, for their everlasting support, commitment, and guidance. Last but not the least, I would like to convey our thanks to the student convener, Jyoti Gehlot, our event team, and the entire organizing committee of the placement cell for making this event possible. Thank you so much.
I
Aishwarya?
would also.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Aishwarya, I've been listening.
You have. You taught me sociology, which
Oh, yeah.
in my first year, and I absolutely love that subject because my
Oh,
mother's
yeah.
a professor of sociology, and I remember you used to have your office on the first ground floor of the
Right, right.
college, and
Have matured up so much, so well, and you've given so good feedback to the students. I'm really very happy. Whenever you are in Delhi, you are not in Delhi, right? Wherever you are here, just come over,
I will.
and we
I
will
will
chat.
definitely, ma'am. I'm visiting from the US right now, but I'll definitely make time in the next couple of weeks.
Sure, sure.
Thank you, ma'am. It's nice to see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just,
Yes,
um,
please go.
I would like to request all the participants to please fill out the attendance form that is being circulated. And now let us conclude with an invitation to immerse yourselves in the world of US LLS, a world where you'll explore, question, and transform. So brace yourselves for a roller coaster ride of case laws and midnight oil burning. But remember, every challenge is a chance to grow. Thank you everyone for being a part of this orientation session today. The cell looks forward to holding many more such events.
Great.
Thank you.